Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Stallions Run. I'm, of course, your host, Buck, as always, with Scout. Scout, thoughts on the very, very, very close game between the Panthers and the Stallions 1 week before their game, a repeat, same team, same stadium for the USFL Championship.
Yeah, it was an interesting game. The weather was a big issue going into it. I remember I'm basically a family member at the Southern Kitchen and Bar now. For those of you unaware, but I was out there, and then it just started pouring down rain, like about an hour and a half from kickoff, like right before the gates opened. And then, it just kind of had that feel, that like slow feel. And then we kick off the game. We had some pregame festivities. Shout out Scooby. We'll talk about that later. But we kick off the game, and instantly, it's great, right? Touchdown, let's do this. And then it's just slower and slower and slower and slower. And it was just like, oh, I know we'll get into it a little bit more, but it for me, that initial, especially the first quarter, just felt so lethargic and slow. And I really wanted to just put them away early, and we did not. But
Yeah, I mean, I have no real idea how to describe this game. Um, Especially the first half, because I'm just trying to think how to describe it, because yeah, you had that like, okay, they stopped the Panthers real quick on defense for that first drive that the Panthers have. Great. And then that first drive, you have like it's like three plays and there's a touchdown. So I'm like, let's go, let's go, let's go. This is gonna be an interesting game if things keep going the way they are. And then everything just died for the Stallions, like offensive wise. That was that first half was legitimately the worst offensive performance so far this season. I think that beats DC for the worst performance by the offense, because I don't know, that DC game was pretty bad, especially before the rain. But I don't know what it was this week, but the Stallions offense. Scott, have you ever seen the offense of the Stallions like that just be so, I don't know, dry?
uh, look, I don't even know what it was. Like, Rookie Person Jr. was out. We'll talk about his effect later too. But it's like, I don't know what it was, right? Like, everybody was hitting, but it was like they just weren't hitting at a rate that we're used to. I know they talked about on the UFL recap show. I believe that is also called UFL today, um,
Yeah.
on ESPN, and they talked about, this is a team used to scoring 35 points a game. If you told them that, like we held Michigan to 19, that's a great game, right? But it was not, like, it was such a weird game. And I will say one thing, and one player individually who kind of, he got a lot better at this, but like when Adrian Martinez is in the pocket and there's someone within 3 feet of him, it's a sack or it's a bad decision. Like, he ran out of bounds probably 2 or 3 times behind the line of scrimmage in this game, and that's a new thing. Like, I'm not saying like he's a terrible player or anything, but it was like, I think he just got really in his head in the second and third quarter of like, hey, I have to be the guy to take this. When in all reality, you could have just throw the ball away at some of those instances. And I thought when Breland got him, if he throws that ball away early enough, that's probably a 15-yard penalty with how the flags have been recently.
Yeah.
But it was a very interesting game to me, especially first quarter. But the defense did step up in the second quarter. I will say, shout out to the defense. It was first and goal from the 1 yard line, and those boys, they strapped up, bootstraps and everything, and they stopped them. And yes, it was, well, they scored a touchdown, and then it was a flag, and then they stopped them here. It was a flag on the next try, and so on and so forth. But that's football. You got to roll with the punches. You got to go here, there, and everywhere. And the fact was that led to Jake Bates making a field goal. But that was kind of the one thing that kind of stopped us from really going off the rails. It let Birmingham go into halftime and be like, hey, we're going to get on the other side of this. Like, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I thought that it was a very good game on that end. Like the persistence, There, I do agree with Skip. Skip said that there was inconsistency in the team. I do believe that there is inconsistency, but in that same regard, there is consistency in effort and there's consistency in perseverance. And I feel like those two things can make a very, very deep run in the playoffs.
Mhm. You had me there, but at the same time, just can we talk about you mentioned it with Adrian's struggles? I'm sorry, what is it with this? I don't did San Antonio kind of mess with him because ever since that San Antonio game, especially when he wasn't having some great drives. I mean that was of course 2 weeks ago. Now you have this game. It's like this is not the same quarterback I'm used to. Because
Yeah,
like I said on my tweet, kind of talking about my thoughts of the game. Where's that week 5 through 8, Adrian Martinez? Because okay, yeah, you had a bad game. You cannot let that spiral into a bad end of the season.
yeah,
So that's just my thing. I think some of the offensive woes, and when I say blame, I mean just there was not a great performance there that cannot be rectified. But I do think some of the offensive struggles for this game were unfortunately on Adrian. There were situations where he absolutely and again, this is just how the game was, and I'm not trying to just blame him for everything because there were some other players, Deion Kane, who were missing some really easy passes, in my opinion. Again, look at me. Do you expect me to get on the field and make those catches? But I'm just saying, from my perspective, armchairing it right now, I feel like there were some passes that were really easy to grab, and I don't know. It felt like the the inconsistencies are popping out at the worst possible time when everything should at least have duct tape on it. So I guess that's kind of my take on the game. I mean, I guess Scout, in your opinion, I think I'm very interested to see how everyone's going to take this because we're in the unique situation for both of these conference championship games. We're going to see a repeat of two matchups that we saw this past weekend. Of course, St. Louis, San Antonio, they're going to be repeating on Sunday. But on Saturday, I guess, are we going to see kind of Skip's bag of tricks start to really come out because you have to play an opponent just a week later?
yeah. The book is Skip Holtz. I've actually somehow found my way onto James Larson's Twitter Spaces, which may sound crazy to a lot of different people that know the lore behind all that. But the book of Skip Holtz is something that I think a lot of people are finding out. And I think originally it was just something, it was some Fox announcer originally said it, and then we just kept saying it back and forth to each other in the Stallions fan base. And then
Yeah.
now it's like a real thing at this point. Like you steal points, like maintain the ball, you win the time possession, and you win football games, right? And it's such a interesting method of play, and it's so like throwback. And I know like Skip is royalty when it comes to football. He has a huge legacy between him and his dad and everything else. But yeah, but I think what we're gonna see. So we saw like the first we saw like the prologue, right? The
Mhm.
preview of the book. We're about to see the entire book in this next week. I don't think we're gonna see. I don't think we're just gonna see the first few chapters. I think we're gonna see the entire book. I know someone said if I don't see a double pass that Skip Holtz calls on Saturday, I'm gonna throw something, and I'm like, you know what? Like I could see it. I could see it like a trick play, a double reverse.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have talked about the way we line up in T formation personnel wise is so much different that we could like run a real reverse if we ever wanted to because of the way we use our tight ends now and everything.
Yeah.
Um, so but like I don't know. I'm not behind the wheel of the Birmingham Stallions. But all that being said, hey, but yeah, but and then even so, dialing it all back on that though, if we want to start talking about the second half, um, the second half we struck back, right? CJ Marable touchdown right into where everybody was taking their shirt off, or the opposite end zone, but everybody started taking their shirt off whenever CJ scored the touchdown. And finally we had some life, and we had some life where we needed it. Um, we were we were lethargic beforehand. Now we have life. Now we're playing ball. Now we're going forward. And then it was kind of just blow for blow, right? Punt for punt, moving down the field, failing a few times, them failing a few times, and then like throw for throw. And then finally, we get a Jace Peterson touchdown with about 2 minutes left. And then we have 2 minutes. You know, they have one timeout left. And then we're like, hey, you got to do what you got to do. And as y'all know now, Jake Bates missed a very long field goal. It had the distance, it had the leg, just went a little to the right. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, again, the Stallions, they find ways to win. I'm just hoping that they find a way to win on Saturday because, man, Michigan is a really good football team. I mean, we were both there. We saw in 2022 they were one. They were one of the very much one of the bottom feeders in the league. In 2023 they make their return into the conference championship. They lose to Pittsburgh though. Now they're possibly going to have a chance to kind of move on for the first time in their revived history. So that's kind of the question: can they kind of do that? Can they go the extra step? And just based on history, I'm kind of nervous because with the Stallions having that little bit of a downtrend at the moment, the worst possible time. So I'm just that kind of has me on my edge on my seat. Um, but I want to kind of really talk about one thing real quick about the shirtless section. Again, I made it very public. Not my thing. I don't. I'm kind of wondering why is this the fan tradition? There could have been there's some different options, but okay. I'm still not going to participate. That's my thing. But I just have to say, because I try to wander down nearby. I don't participate in these shenanigans. Uh, but I have to say, protect your security. Why are they treating the shirtless section like the hooligans? Because if you count taking your shirt off just to, and let me say a male, because we have societal things, uh a male taking their shirt off, you would seriously think like that, like, you know, someone was going to make a threat with, like, there was what, 10 security guards considering you were in the middle of it.
Yeah. And like, to me, I'm like, it's a little bit of both ways, right? Like, okay, I can understand how rowdy people 6 foot from the like the floor, right? Like, okay, there's the issue there. But then again, there was 70 people, and like there's like 8 security guards or whatever. And the only reason we say this, and the only
Yeah.
reason I've made a point of it, is this is not the first week. We actually had more people, in my opinion, at the Roughnecks game than we did here. Um,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden now it's an issue. I will say, Russ Brandon was in the house for, he was not in the shirtless section, but he was at the stadium. There was a bunch of other UFL higher ups that were in the stadium. So that I think that like that is my biggest hypothesis, was that it was not a necessarily protective call, but that was a UFL call in particular. But then again, then why aren't you having all those people like at the ones that are literally have thrown lemons before? They've thrown them onto the field for a team that hasn't even made the playoffs this year, at least.
Yeah, this is the same. Hey, this is
So
the same league that goes bang bang bad. So
yeah, and it's like ugh. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it, and I'm like, for the most part, it's like that front row. It was like me, JP Scott, Axe, Damian Mitchell, and then just like a bunch of like high school seniors or like college freshmen, like 18, 19, 20 year old kids or whatever.
yeah,
And they were all cool. Like they were all so cool, so respectful. Even now, there was a few of them, like a few of the older gentlemen, especially in like the rows the rows back. They started being like a little loud on offense, and we were trying to get them to calm down. But you know, liquor is its own special thing. Um, but yeah, but I really liked it. We've honestly had some like repeating characters at this point, which I think was a big thing with how, you know, that one lady apparently got told to put a shirt on like in the fourth. It must have been like in the fourth quarter, because I was not aware, and I was like a row in front of her and her husband. Um, but yeah, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was so funny. One of the guys that actually knows me from covering high school football, he actually went up to me at that and was like, "Oh my God, you're the guy from Twitter." I was like, "Yeah." Um, but
Yeah.
uh, it's fun, and I would like to invite anybody out. You know, shirts are optional. I would like to say, if you look at any of the pictures, you will see there are people with shirts. I found one with you in it, Mister Buck. Um, but yeah, but it's a very wild and interesting thing. And now the fact that it went the opposite way is that we have like this like reverse magnetism to the football. Also,
Yeah.
I would like to say 0-2 on field goal tries are the away kickers in Protective Stadium when the shirtless Stallions are there. So
Okay. All right. All right. So let's preview the game up ahead. I mean, it's kind of weird. We're having to preview a team that we just previewed. Really, um, I guess for me at the moment, I really have one thing. I think this is kind of it, and that is you just have to kind of have it all there on offense. Now, maybe you see. I know there's been some people who've been like CJ Marable is like the greatest running back for the Stallions. I disagree. I think CJ Marable is AM and Ricky are basically the two running backs for the Stallions. Have them work together. Seriously, they're probably the best duo in the league when you really get them going. So please, Skip, take advantage of them. You don't have to have Adrian throw it every 3 attempts. Just let them do their thing. Just let them go. That's my big thing with this preview before we talk scores. Let Ricky and CJ do their thing. Scout, what about you?
defense. That's it. That's it. Defense. Be more aggressive. Blitz. Be ham blitz. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm,
uh, going from John Chavis to Corey Chamberlain calling plays is palpable. I'm not saying it's worse. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's palpable. And I feel like there's some blood in the water type things with how these offensive coordinators are playing against us. Like they sense, they sense fear, and they're taking advantage of it. And like
mm.
it's one of those things where I don't want us to blitz every play. I don't want us to just like throw caution to the wind. But you look at some of these games and we're on 3rd and 14 playing like Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Sorry about that, but the but going through
Grave
all of
digger.
that,
All I was gonna say, grave digger.
yeah. But anyways, going through all that, it's like. Oh, like, and I guess Chavis had his own things, and like I've said every single time, Chavis was like, he would give you till the 40, and then you're not getting past the 40, or you're not getting wherever you were past that 40, and
Yeah,
I just don't know, man. Like I think defense will decide the game. I think the offense will be better. The offense will be better, but they're gonna know the offense is gonna be better. They have
yeah,
plenty of weapons to stop our offense. That being said, I do agree. Like let Ricky work. We need to see some like just. Uh, I did like the fact that Jace and Adrian understood that whenever we were getting like 22 personnel in, or 12 personnel in, or even 21 personnel in, just like 3 or more of running backs and tight ends, like we were sucking a lot more than just 11. Because when we had 11 and it was just CJ and Jace on the field at any time, it was a lot better than when we started stacking.
yeah,
Because I think we realized, even though this is a team that is known over 3 years to have the physical, to have the big team, like playing Michigan, we do not need to have that physical big team. I mean, maybe Ricky changes that a little bit, um, but I'm not sure it's as much as we would like it to. So.
yeah. All right. So let's do our scores real quick. Who do you think is going to be winning this championship USFL championship game between the Birmingham Stallions and the Michigan Panthers?
I think it's going to be 29-23 Stallions.
Okay. All right. So you're saying about a 1-score game.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go. I'm thinking it's going to be a little closer. Instead of a 1 point difference, I'm saying it's going to be a 4 point difference. I think it's going to be 25-21. So we're both seeing that kind
Yeah.
of area right there. So and we're both saying Steins win. So that's going to be interesting to see if that comes true. But there is one thing before we head off for this week. Uh, I guess I didn't get a chance to go by and say hello, but it's really cool that I want to mention Scooby Wright did come for that final regular season home game to kind of be with the fans and kind of get to take part in it. I know now that he's in retirement, Scott, I think did you get a chance to go talk to him and stuff like that?
Yeah. So for those of you unaware, Scooby Wright did have a signing. It was supposed to be him and another player at some point, but it ended
Yes.
up just being him. Um, But it was really cool. It was really cool. I think somebody said he stayed up there like even like past his allotted amount of time. Again, it was raining. People were delayed, so on and so
Yeah.
forth. But it was really cool. He had Shark Dog shirts, and he said he only had 100. But like I saw so many people walk up and get a shirt. That it must have been like 200, or there must have been some league official that was like, "Hey, here's another 200 shirts. We'll cover the cost or something." Right. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, and he was getting pictures of everybody. He signed my arm, which I thought was the funniest thing ever, because I didn't want to, the old social media person was out on the right. I didn't want him signing my chest on there, but like that was the original idea, and then I was just like, you know what, sign the arm. Anyways, but it
Yeah.
was cool. It was cool, and I love him for it. And even like Mama Scout, as she is now known on Twitter, her favorite players have been Jace Magoo and Scooby the whole time. And I need to get her a picture with Jace, but she never wants to walk down after the game. Anyways, but what Scooby, they got a picture, both her and my dad did, and she got a Shark Dog shirt, and he was signing all the Shark Dog shirts. So, but
That's
yeah, I thought that was really cool. And another thing, I'm not sure if this was intended or not, but they were like giving away some of the shirts and stuff. If you went to the right tent, like some of the shirts that they didn't sell or something. I don't know. But one of the other Twitter people had informed me, hey, if you go to that tent, they'll just give you a shirt. And I was like, I don't know if that's intended, but
Okay. Well, possibly accidentally stealing merchandise is the thing. Well, Scout, where can people find you on social media as we wrap up this week's episode?
yeah, you can find me at Southern Charm SP on Twitter, Southern Charm Sports on Instagram, Reel. If we're not there, sorry about it. But yeah,
All right. And you can find me on X/Twitter at StallionsUFM. Post my thoughts. Been engaging a little trolling. I will be honest about that part. But it's been in good faith, unlike some other people. So just putting that out there. All right. Well, I'll see you guys next week as we potentially get to talk about a Stallions win or a Stallions season ender. So we'll see you guys next